Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Well, as Tiffany said, I want to talk today about drinking water. When I was younger, I used to live in a very southern part of Mexico, or not Mexico, Arizona. And a lot of times we would go to Mexico down on the beach and camp and hang out there and have a wonderful time before there became casinos and hotels on that beach. It was white sand as far as you could see. But inevitably, every time I ever went to Mexico, somebody, some friend or somebody would always say, "Don't drink the water." You know, don't drink the water when you go down there because it'll make you sick. But what about the water here? The drinking water that we have here, we have the freshest, best Rocky Mountain spring water, as the commercial says, in the world, coming out of the ground right up in those hills. But by the time it gets to us, it is heavily contaminated. According to the Utah Division of Drinking Water, all treatment plants around the county, there's some on the west side for water that comes down out of the Oakers, and there's one in every canyon that goes along this east side that has treatment plants for the water that comes out of the ground that ends up coming out of our taps. And according to them, I only investigated one of them because I didn't want to burden you with a whole lot of statistics here, but the Big Cottonwood Canyon Treatment Plant adds chlorine to the water at slightly less than 1 part per million, which doesn't seem like much, all right? Most of us know that chlorine is added for safety reasons. It prevents typhoid fever, dysentery, cholera, and gastroenteritis, just to name a few. But we also know that chlorine is poison. I've been drinking that water all my life and since I was a little kid, and I've never seen no adverse effects from it. But back in the 90s, I got a job in a mine in Nevada, and in that mine they use chlorine gas at one of the mills. And I had to go to a safety training class through MSHA to deal with chlorine gas and the possible effects it could have if you actually breathe any of it in. Chlorine gas is the same thing as the liquid that we drink in our water, it's just in a different form. It's the same element. And the effects of chlorine on the human body are devastating. It's one of the most deadly poisons there are. And but according to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, chlorine levels of 4 parts per million or below in drinking water, whether from a private well or municipal reservoir, are acceptable from a human's health standpoint. Arsenic and strychnine are both well-known poisons as well, and they're also acceptable by the government from a human standpoint. I choose not to eat arsenic or strychnine in any form, in any amount. And so the chlorine in itself cannot be good for you. Even in those small amounts, it might not make us sick. We've been drinking it all our lives, but it's not good for us, period. But the real thing that we want to avoid is fluoride. Fluoride is evil, rotten stuff. Fluoride is the only chemical added to water for the purposes of medical treatment. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration classified fluoride as a drug when used to prevent or mitigate disease. As a matter of basic logic, adding fluoride to water for the sole purpose of preventing tooth decay, a non-waterborne disease, is a form of medical treatment. All other chemicals added to the water are put in there for our safety and well-being to prevent contaminations in the pipe, corrosion, and things of that nature. But fluoride is a step by the government to force people to take a medicine irrespective of their consent. I do not consent. Once fluoride is in the water, it is impossible to control the dose. The government is doing to us, to to whole communities what individual doctors are banned from law by doing to individual patients. They're giving us medication that we don't want or need in uncontrolled doses and not telling us how much we should have or not have. It's bad for you. This is what fluoride does for us. It can cause brain damage. It can lower the IQ. There have been at least 33 studies all over the world that have reported an association between fluoride exposure and IQ. It causes thyroid dysfunction, arthritic symptoms, damages bone, and may increase hip fractures in the elderly. It is bad for you. So, my solution to this is don't drink it. Drink distilled water. It's way much better for you. A while back, I met a man by the name of Ron Williams. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of him. He's famous around the world in bodybuilding circles. This is a very small picture of him. I don't have a bigger picture because I couldn't find one. But he is the most decorated bodybuilder in history, period. He beat Arnold Schwarzenegger's records. He's been 7 times Mr. Olympia, Mr. Universe, and Mr. USA, I think, each of those 7 times. He's a fitness and nutrition expert. And he tells me that fluoride is an estrogen imitator, gentlemen. Think about that for a minute. Do you want to be taking an estrogen imitator in your drinking water? I do not. So my solution to everybody is start drinking distilled water and don't drink anything that comes out of the tap. Thank you.